The chair recognizes the honourable member for Killarney.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Let the dogs out.
Madam Speaker,
Let the dogs out.
before I start, I just want to do some housekeeping with respect to the Killarney constituency. We had a national door ring program, video doorbell program within the constituency, and many came out and received their doorbell, ring camera, to help with crime within our constituency. Our CCTV program is going very well. We're about to launch very soon the introduction of CCTV within the Sea Beach area, and we would continue to launch it throughout the Killarney constituency. I would hope that the government, regardless to who it may be, would launch or would move towards a national program like in the UK, so that in terms of manpower police on the street, the need for that would be decreased, knowing that the entire area is being watched in real time, and place timelines so that if the national program is to be completed within 3 years, 4 years, set dates, and whomever the government may be, but it's budgeted annually and the program is to be completed. Madam Speaker, we had a very interesting meeting in Mount Pleasant. Mount Pleasant, that's a sector of our constituency. Killarney's, we have been successful in dividing Killarney into about 12 different areas, because the demands and the concern within one area is completely different of the other. And it's very difficult to have them all grouped as one. We had a meeting there in Mount Pleasant, and we asked them what were their greatest concern. And within the Mount Pleasant community, their concern was inflation. They had problems with water bill and problems with light bills. And therefore, we had made a commitment and asked Mount Pleasant community to establish a financial committee where they'd put policies and programs together. We would give $5,000 per quarter to assist them with their light bill and their water bill. However, they must have guidelines and maximum received from for each individual. And you can start initially with the elderly and the single parent. But quarterly, they would receive $5,000 to assist with the water bill and the light bill. But inflation, this government, Madam Speaker, themselves are causing an increase in the inflationary events that we see here. For example, materials being brought into the country or packages. There's a company that they had established, JDL, what we've spoken about repeatedly. And JDL receives the packages in spite of the invoice stating the weight and all the necessary information. JDL is the first grouping to receive these packages and charge individuals 20 cents per pound. That extra cost is transmitted to the consumer. That in itself causes inflation. And now, Madam Speaker, what has made it worse, 3 couriers had informed me that JDL has informed them that if they don't pay, their package won't, well, if they don't pay now, the package never is seen by the customs officer. But now they're being threatened that if they do not pay, they will lose their business license. I don't know where JDL obtained such authority. So I would assume that that is incorrect. But I urge the government to investigate it, because the private sector do not have such authority, and who has given them that authority that they will take individuals' business license. But Madam Speaker, that's just a minor housekeeping that I wanted to deal with. That's a minor housekeeping that I wanted to deal with. But I rise today, Madam Speaker, to make my contribution to this Veterinary Medicine Bill 2024. A human and decent society must, Madam Speaker, ensure animal protection. And that was why, when we were in government, we gave acreage of land to the Humane Society so that they can expand their society, expand their building, and do whatever is necessary to move with society. So that's what we did. But such protection is necessary for the welfare of animals and for the general health, public health. Madam Speaker, the bill before us seeks to create a modern regulatory regime for the veterinary medical sector, ensuring trained and qualified people perform veterinary services in our country. The bill creates a veterinary medical council to oversee the sector. Madam Speaker, it's a good bill. It's a good bill, and I congratulate the member for Centerville for bringing such a bill. The bill is a replica of the medical bill, the Medical Act. It's a replica. And therefore, I am very familiar with this bill, as I've been familiar with the medical bill. But there's only one matter concerns me. The dentists have been asking for such a bill for years. And the dentists still do not have, their bill has not yet been brought to this Parliament. And I think that should be treated as a matter of urgency, because still there are rogues within the dental profession, just like they are in the veterinary or medical or other professions, and are doing things that they are not qualified to do. And there's no rules and regulations to deal with them. So, Madam Speaker, I would hope that the government would bring the dental bill to this Parliament very soon. But the bill creates a council to oversee the sector. And some of the functions of the council are to consider and approve the qualifications of veterinarians and veterinary professionals, paraprofessionals, who apply for registration under this Act and to register them. It also, the bill, other functions are to register and license persons who satisfy the requirements for registration and licensing as veterinarians under this Act. It also regulates the standards of practice of veterinary medicine. It establishes and maintains a system of ongoing assessment of the adequacy of training of veterinarians to ensure conformity with established national and international standards. It prescribes standards of professional conduct and establishes a code of ethics for the practice of veterinary medicine and ensure the standards of professional conduct and the code of ethics are adhered to by veterinarians and veterinary paraprofessionals. To regulate the use of veterinary medication, to prescribe courses for continuing education training for veterinarians, and investigating the professional conduct or the capability of veterinarians or specialists to practice veterinary medicine. Madam Speaker, the Council is needed in the Bahamas to oversee the veterinarian industry. Unscrupulous actors have emerged who are not qualified but perform services and procedures on animals. This legislation creates offenses for such behavior and criminal penalties that include fines, jail time, or both. In a story of the Tribune on September 27, 2024, and Madam Speaker, I will table the documents as proof of what I'm talking about. In the story, in the Tribune on September 27, 2024, titled, Vets Regulatory Regime to Curb Unlicensed Operators. Dr. Basil Sands noted some of the unethical practices that are going on. We have been, quoting, we have been agitating for this veterinary medicine bill for years, and our concern was that we had a lot of laypersons in the community doing veterinary medicine practices, said Dr. Sands. They were neutering and spaying dogs, doing surgery, administering vaccinations, artificially inseminating, doing cesarean sections. You have people chopping dogs' tails and ears without using anesthesia.
Wow.
You know how
Ouch.
inhumane and how cruel? Those were the words of Dr. Basil Sands. The legislation also empowers inspectors to check on individuals and operations who may be breaking the law. Those breaking the law could be prosecuted under penalties in the bill. Madam Speaker, I support this legislation. It's a good legislation. The veterinary profession has been agitating for a bill such as this for some time. They deserve an oversight structure that is similar to that of the medical doctors. What I emphasize is that along with this bill, there needs to be adequate funding to support the work of the legislation. Additionally, there needs to be strong enforcement. We pass many laws in this place. However, when they are enacted, oftentimes there's inadequate funding and resolve to ensure the laws are enforced. We need the right number of trained inspectors via this bill to shut down all those offering unauthorized veterinary services. Their conduct is cruel to animals and a danger to public health. Dr. Basil Sands commented on this in that Tribune article. He said, they were doing things that they weren't supposed to do, and we were having a lot of problems with these laypersons who were not equipped or registered to practice veterinary medicine, he explained. We tend to have a lot of problems as a result because they use expired vaccines and the dogs are getting sick. We have an outbreak of parvo, meaning parvovirus, on the island right now. And we have people who immunize. We don't know how they get them because vaccines are only sold to registered veterinarians. It is a problem. Now, with this legislation in place, you have to be registered and licensed to practice veterinary medicine. You have to come from an accredited school and have professional training. Let us make sure robust enforcement of the law brings these practices to an end in our country. Enforcement is very, very important. It is necessary for me, Madam Speaker, to raise a few connected matters as we are discussing this bill. The Bahamas has a long-standing problem with stray dogs. This is a problem we must also address. Dogs should be properly restricted to the property of their owners. All other animals should be impounded and appropriately dealt with following the law. We should not have roaming stray dogs in our country. The necessary authority must be resourced to carry out the mandate to fix this problem. These stray and unrestrained dogs attack people. Madam Speaker, I remember as a little boy, many times coming from work after we moved in the Grove, and I would be walking home. And there would be hundreds, many dogs assembled in the street. And because of fear, I had to walk 3 extra blocks to avoid the dogs just to get home safely. And, you know, as kids, you don't want to say what you were forced to do, you know. But that was unnecessary. And a lot of people still face those same challenges. People who live in affluent areas, they don't know. But when you live in those inner cities and those type areas, you cannot get home to your own house because you have to avoid the stray dogs in the road who are sleeping, and you must walk 2, 3 extra blocks. These dogs, they also search in garbage containers, making messes across our communities. The necessary laws to address this exist. What is needed is enforcement and resources to assist that enforcement. Madam Speaker, another matter pertains to widespread rodent infestation here in New Providence. There are too many rats, and they are big, big rats. Rats are vectors to various diseases. Madam Speaker, I would remember as Minister of Health in 2010, I was trying to find an article in 2010 when, in a particular public setting, a tourist had been bitten by a rat. What? And if you remembered, the tourist had said she thought it was a puppy. This was about 2010. This was about 2010. And I was trying to find the article. I was trying to find the article so I could have brought it here to table. But I was Minister of Health. I remember that incident very, very well. Rats, Madam Speaker, they are a threat to public health. We need a more robust public effort to greatly reduce this infestation problem. I call on the minister responsible to do more to ensure the rodent infestation in various parts of New Providence is addressed. And Madam Speaker, I support this legislation. I trust that it has the effect of improving the veterinary sector. We have many talented vets and veterinary professionals in this country, and this new law will protect them and their interests and help weed out those bad actors who have no place caring for animals. But the laws, just as this bill is being brought into law, the dentists also need protection. It's a serious problem in this country. Madam Speaker, before concluding, I would like to speak briefly on a matter related to public health. Just as the previous F&M government built the state-of-the-art critical care block at PMH, my administration proposed and found the funding to construct a 4- to 6-story, 96,000 square foot tower at the Princess Margaret Hospital. This multi-story medical, surgical, and maternal and child health facility was slated to cost approximately $55 million and hire scores of Bahamians. It was a design-build principle. The Chinese-funded facility that is to be built away from PMH will cost approximately more than 4 times the amount. Instead of redeveloping and transforming PMH, which was the plan by 3 prime ministers, including Hubert Ingram, Perry Christie, and myself, this government is pursuing a course that makes little sense from a financial or healthcare perspective. I agree with my colleagues in the opposition and the many in medical field, including the president of the Medical Association, who note that there is insufficient medical staff to work at PMH, the RAN, and in the Family Islands. Madam Speaker, yes, the hospital has challenges, but those challenges didn't come overnight. Those challenges were there from I was a little boy. I would have given an example of where I almost died because of long delay at PMH. It still exists. It still exists. But you cannot try to destroy the confidence the people has in their institution, because it's usually the poor individuals who must use Princess Margaret Hospital. If their confidence is lost, then healthcare will be in serious problem. Death rates would increase. That was one commitment that Bernard Nottage, when he was Minister of Health, and myself had. We must protect Princess Margaret Hospital. You cannot allow the people, their only resource to healthcare, lose confidence in their own institution. But we fight on policies, but not destruction of the hospital. Adding a new standalone facility is going to make staffing problem worse and is going to further stretch limited financial resources. Madam Speaker, the perfect example is we built an excellent facility in Abaco, mini hospital in Abaco, mini hospital in Exuma. The challenges is staffing. The challenges is staffing. You're moving to construct another white elephant. You will have that challenge. 3 prime ministers recognized that and recognized that the facility must be where it's located now, and that's why monies were sourced to do that. I say to you, you're going down the wrong way, wrong channel. Use that money to correct the problems that we have. Staffing, supplies, equipment, or you will construct a white elephant that nobody can use. Listen, that's all I can say. The PLP is not building a new hospital. They are building a new building away from the central hospital. With thousands of Bahamians needing jobs and incomes, the PLP is proposing a project that may give more than 1,000 jobs to Chinese nationals at the expense of Bahamian workers and families. Why, Madam Speaker? I ask the question, why is the PLP putting Bahamians last? Yet again. I am very concerned about BPL, the sale of BPL. And who are involved? Their bond and their shares. Their bond and their shares. Individuals are investing $100 million. But, Madam Speaker, before I go there, let me straighten something out first. The government, with the sale, a company that just formed last year, the government would retain 40%. I want Bahamas to listen to me very carefully, so I'm going to get into some mathematics. The government would retain 40%. But that 40% is because of what the government now owns, the land and the infrastructure, what they own today, 40%. The government says this 40% is worth $100 million. $100 million, Madam Speaker. So that's how they obtain 40%. Madam Speaker, if 40% is $100 million, it means that 20% is $50 million. Just follow me. 20% is $50 million. The new company will own 60%. Now, if 20% is $50 million, 60% should be $150 million. That's mathematics. Every Bahamian understands that. But they are buying it. This new company is buying it, obtaining 60% for $130 million. What happened to the other $20 million? Who getting that? Who getting that $20 million? With $20 million missing. That's mathematics. So, Madam Speaker.
The math is not mathing.
Madam Speaker, that's mathematics. That's your data. That's your data. That's not mine. Madam Speaker, $100 million would be basically loaned by the Bahamian people, and they'd be at a return of 8%. But every share, you can only invest a minimum of $50,000. $50,000. You exclude over 90% of the Bahamian populace. 95%. That is overt discrimination.
95%.
The oligarchs
That's math.
and the political pundits, friends, family, whoever, would pay $30 million. And they are the ones who will own the company, because that $100 million crew, they only gave a loan. They only gave a loan. And that $30 million crew, who are the individuals? And then explain that's where this $20 million disappeared to also. But, Madam Speaker, it gets even worse.
What?
The cruise port, they are introducing cruise power deal. Island Power Producers, the new company, again, just formed overnight. They got the contract to provide electricity for the port.
New company?
Are they doing the same thing? The oligarchs are the few handful of individuals, your friends, who will own the company. Just a handful, you know. Who are they? We need to know, who are they? So they will, are they the same individuals who will own BPL? And you're going to explain my $20 million. The people want to know. Are they the same individuals who will own the cruise power deal at minimal cost again? Will you use the same formula? And, Madam Speaker, they will make millions and millions of dollars. Just to give you an example, BPL, from year one, they're making $10.4 million. Year one. Hardly any business kicks off making a profit. That is unreal. From year one, $110.4 million. And at the end of the contract, Madam Speaker, you realize they're going to make almost $500 million, those handful of individuals. What happened to the Bahamians? Why can't the Bahamians be a part of it? Why you want shares to start at $50,000? The average Bahamian don't have that. You are basically, Madam Speaker, you are basically saying that the local Bahamian has no share in this. But that is not what they're after, Madam Speaker. Cruise ships coming into the port, yes, they'll be connected to your power line there and make about $60 million a year. But that's not it. The United States has passed a law that effective 2021, all cruise ships coming into their waters must use LNG. LNG. They have delayed it because only Port Canaveral can meet that demand at this particular point in time. And there are over 200 ships being built as we speak, and they too will need LNG. So what they're really going after, Madam Speaker, is to establish a bunker fuel system at Arawak Port to make billions of dollars, again, excluding the Bahamian populace and only that handful of individuals. I don't care who they are, PLP, FNM, COI, it's wrong.
It's wrong.
It's wrong.
It's wrong. It's wrong.
It's wrong. Madam Speaker,
Really?
the FNM, we know that, the FNM had a proposal when Shell wanted to do it. We said, Shell wanted to own it 100%. We said no. 65% because you're making billions of dollars. Imagine all cruise ships must receive that gas, and they don't have sufficient facility today. 200 are under construction. 200. So they must receive, we had proposed 65% of the company being owned by Bahamians, by government. But at time, the government would release theirs to the average Bahamian. Shell can only own 15%, and the average Bahamian would have had the other 25%. Madam Speaker, those are questions that has to be answered. But then, Madam Speaker, with respect to the hospital, then there is, this is of national importance, there is the environmental damage. There is the environmental damage.
Honourable member, are you asking for more time?
Yes, Madam Speaker.
How much time do you need, Honourable?
I need but 4 minutes.
Well, I'll give you
Good man, good.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. This is not blues, it's just facts. Then there is the environmental damage that is going to be done with this new hospital facility. In a recent letter to the editor, the head of BASH sounded the alarm on the environmental damage that will be done by building this facility. Sounding the necessary warnings about the damage that will be done does not make someone an alarmist. The letter noted, I quote, "Has the government completed all of the legal maneuverings necessary to discard and overthrow existing proposed track protection mechanism? Did they consult those special interest groups who were the drivers behind the protection process? If they did, I was not among them, and I was the principal force behind the movement." The letter further stated, "Sadly, even the news media has missed the critical point in their addiction to sensationalism and short, pointed headlines. Notwithstanding all of the official jargon, I will ask the environmental minister, did you hear about this forest? Did you read about it? Or did you experience it? Because if you experienced it, and if you have any love or appreciation or environmental knowledge, you would know, like those of us who know, that this was a sacred gift and it must be protected. I will say this unequivocally. You, sir, and your administration are presiding over the destruction of the most eco-sensitive piece of environmental real estate on the island of New Providence, and arguably the most diverse natural native flora garden in the country, with more than 1/5 of all the plants native to the Bahamas in a...
2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam
Go on.
Speaker. I would respect your 2 minutes.
Thank you.
In a space less than 200 acres. It's gone?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, I thank you very much, but I want to table, I said I'd table the article, and this article speaks to the environmental benefits and destruction that the government would be doing with the proposed track, and I urge them. There are more than 50 new species within that area that you are about to destroy.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Order the document be brought up.
What's today's date?
Order the document to lie on the table. As many?